The sport of boxing is going to be on an entirely different level now. So today we dive directly into, sorry. Oh my gosh. There we go. Sorry. Hold up. My thing is messed up. There we go. Let's get it. What's up, brother?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much.
It's about to go down, man. I got I got a smoker for us today. Yeah, the sport of boxing has definitely taken a serious injection of, we'll call this the steroid injection of two powers that be. One who started an entire organization, is the most successful individual running one organization that I could say uh, almost higher than the Elon Musks of the world. And so he's partnered with Turkey, and it's just been phenomenal with the energy and the conversations and the questions. So today, Otis, we're going to get directly into the recap of Tank versus Roach, but we're going to start off with the conversation with that, and then we're going to get into the Turkey and Dana White basically takeover in the sport, because when people hear about some of the things that have been said, it's going to be more of the most eye-opening, and it's going to startle you. Literally, people in the boxing world in really higher powers are startled, and it's going to be good. So welcome aboard, brother. Let's get it popping. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, man. I feel like it's a good marriage. The Turk is obviously a guy that has come together, and he wants to be do what's best for boxing.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is he's the best things that White has to offer, and leave the negative things that he has to offer on the sidelines. And let's talk about that. First of all, Dana White has done a great job, as you already alluded to, of being able to take his product and make it the best. Get a product placement, sponsors,
Yeah.
all that. We don't need no money, but it's going to be good to get like to tie everything else around the sport of boxing into boxing for the
Yeah.
fighters. Um, yeah, Dana White has also done a really good job. If there's anything else that you can say about Dana White, that's good. You can say that one thing that he did for the UFC, he made it one band, one sound, meaning that he put one belt
Yeah.
on one champion. And
Yeah.
Turk has talked about doing that in boxing. Who better
Yeah.
to do it than Dana White, because he's already done it in his sport. The negative things that Dana White does is a lot of people don't understand. I do, because I was a fighter. I
Yeah.
had I'm very good, close friends with Nick and Nate Diaz. They're in Stockton, which I have to go to Stockton tomorrow for a weigh-in. The card is called The Future. Down it's going to be a G1 Promotions down in Stockton. I'm going to go ahead and speak for the Diaz brothers and say that me and them, since Dana and the Turk are partnering up, me and them are going to partner up, and we're just going to go ahead and wrap up all the talent in Northern California for boxing, and go ahead and put them on that highway and front line them all the way to the Turk. So if you're
Yeah.
in Northern California and you are a boxing talent, if you don't get with me and the Diaz brothers, then I don't know what to say about you. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we got the hard wire all the way in. But what he's gonna do is this. That was negative that Dana White did, was he was only giving the fighters 2% of the gross. A lot. I know you know
Yeah.
what the gross is, but a lot of you know what I'm saying. The gross is what the total net that you're making out of your sport. Meaning, in this example, the UFC, right? So Dana White
Hmm.
was making a boatload of money. Let's say off of UFC. I don't know. I forget what number they're on now, but let's say they're on 250 or something, right?
Yeah, it's
UFC
like
250.
312, 313.
Yeah,
It's
there's
it's up
somewhere
there.
around
Yeah.
there. But anyway, whatever number is, let's say he's on the UFC, right? And he makes, and I'm just throwing a number out there. Let's say he makes 100 million off of a show, right? Off of the UFC show, right?
Hmm.
It's like
And that's
all
fair.
product placement, the pay-per-view,
Yeah.
everything. And he's only paying
12.
fighters like
Yeah.
200,000,
Yeah.
and
It's
that's not
honestly,
right. No, that's how we
yeah.
rock.
Yeah, and I do take that point and I receive it. And but in a business, what people have to realize is their shares, their profit shares, like when you do a contract. And so I'm only going to co-sign on what you're talking about and give the explanation of what it actually takes. Because what he's doing is it's just like when you create a contract, like Dak Prescott for the Dallas Cowboys got, like $140 million. People just think that that's like monopoly money, but you have to have contingencies. Like, you make more by doing more. If you sell more tickets and sell more pay-per-view, you get more profit share. If you get a knockout in the first or second round, you're going to get more money. If the fight is fight of the year, you're going to get more money. And so the fighters, Dana White put 300,000 on the purse for the fighters who won outstanding fight of the night and all of that, right? So they went to the UK. The whole fight card stunk up the gym. He was upset, pissed, because he was giving the guys an opportunity to make more money. So this is where fighters don't quite understand business. They just know I can go fight and get some money, agreed upon money, but they don't understand the incentives of this thing. Incentivizing the fighter is fighter. If you want to make more and do more, it has to be great for the experience of the people, because that's what the promoters are selling. They're selling an experience, period. Because it might be Michael Phelps, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Robin Givens, Sally Jesse Raphael, that's who they're doing it for. So they can sell more advertising spaces, doing those commercial spots, people paying big money to take part in those kind of promotions. And you see Jiffy Lube, and you see, all of the power brands, Wells Fargo. That's what that event is all about. And they just so happen to have fights going on. And that's what the fighters need to understand. If they want to make a lot of money, I remember recently, this was in the past year, Stephen A. say, I get up every day, I work my ass off, and I wake up super early to figure out how I can make my bosses money. And some people took that as kind of weird, right? But the bottom line is he's strategically figuring out how to increase his purse. And now Stephen A. is trying to get $100 million contract from ESPN, which is rightfully so, because he understands how to create capital. So I'm encouraging the fighters and the trainers to motivate them to understand how to create more value for yourself. And that's why the UFC fighters, they don't typically have a lot of, they don't make those big bags, right? Because Dana White had it set up as a business, not just, hey, it's like boxing. Boxing is roll your dice. It's a casino. You know what I'm saying? Money, winner take all. It's been set up like that since the beginning.
So what I was gonna say is this, though. What you said is great from the business standpoint. We all know that boxing is one of the hardest grinds that you can ever take in life. In fact, for myself, boxing was my C plan. Like all else failed, and I fell into boxing, and praise God, I had a good venture in it. But with that being said, you can't take a flight somewhere or walk into an arena and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to knock this guy out. That just might not happen that night. So for you to put in a contract that I got to knock this guy out to get my real money, and the stated money is only so much, I'm not going to agree to that. I'm going to hand you the gloves and tell you to go do it.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
So you got to be smart on that, because in boxing, you're risking your life. In all fight sports, all combat sports, you're risking your life. So you deserve to be paid a certain amount just to show up and get in there. Not incentive pay is great as far as like I can control how many people are watching. Like if I tell you I'm gonna bring you 300,000 pay-per-view or whatever, then you looking at the stats and you're like, Otis, you only got 45,000 people, so you ain't getting all the rest. Then that's great. Like, do that. But don't tell me that I got to knock somebody out or I got to throw 1,000 punches, because that might not be what happens strategically. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely understood. But the thing is, Tank just lost $250,000. So we're going to get in directly into that. He bet that he would knock out Lamont Roach. And in some light, I guess he did that to kind of get in Lamont's head. So we just gave you guys a little soliloquy on the beginning of the conversation that we'll take part in when it comes down to this fight with, you know, the takeover with Dana White, because there are very powerful points, and I'm gonna get directly into it. But the first question I got to ask you, because we came into this fight week and we didn't do our show directly, but after the fight, but the key was, what did you see in Tank after the sixth round? What did you see? What stood out to you most in that fight? Like, you will never forget when Tank and Roach fought. And in chat, you guys can drop it down in the comment boxes what you guys saw as well, because what we're going to do is make sure that we go back and check all the comments. But what we want to do is find out what stood out in your mind. Like, what is it that you couldn't believe when you saw that fight? Because that's how you kind of rank a fight in history. When it Holyfield versus Riddick Bowe, the rematch, the fan man stood out. Holyfield, Tyson 2, the ear biting. You know, like, everything has that thing. What stood out? What was that ghost moment for you in that fight? Oh man, you popped out.
Yeah, I'm back.
So what was that moment for you?
You talking about the what? I just clicked back in. So you're talking about, what fight are you talking about, for the Roach and Tank fight?
Yes. Yeah.
The moment that stood out for me was the very peculiar and strange moment of someone taking a knee and literally having a dialogue with the referee. Like, there's been people have to understand, in the fight game, you don't follow if something happens where you get knocked down or the referee demands your attention and you don't listen to that referee within those quick 2 or 3 seconds, that fight can be waved off, because now the referee he has to take into account, like, maybe this guy's acting strange because there's something not functioning with his brain or his body the right way, and I can't have his blood on my hands, so I got to wave it off, or either call the doctor up here and have him look at him or something. So for him to take a knee out of nowhere, run over to the corner and say something to them, have them wipe his face or whatever, and then turn to the referee and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to go," just like it was a TV timeout or something, or in a football game. And the referee, then the other peculiar thing was that the referee, instead of continuing his count, says, "All right, well, the next time I got to count that for a knockdown." What?
Yeah.
So that's what stood out to me.
So you do know where he's from, right?
Who the ref?
Yeah.
Where is he from?
DC.
I don't know where he's from.
DC.
Wow. He might not be able to walk the streets no more over there.
But so check it. Well, both of them Tank from Baltimore and the DC, but it's the reason what I'm saying is they know each other. Like, you understand? We had legendary referees.
Yeah.
Break bread with us. Know us. I said it last week. I trained several of the biggest refs ever, children, grown kids for boxing. Because if your dad is a referee in boxing, you want to know how to box, right? So there's that. I can't say his name, obviously, but when we would fight, whether you say you're biased or not, you're gonna be biased. So if something is wrong with us, if I complain in a fight, he gonna listen to me. So he realized, okay, I know he ain't get hit. And so he had to make a judgment call when I think is the toughest decision that a referee has to live with, but he also has to remember that that's Tank. Okay, he took a knee, and that was just totally the responsibility of Tank not knowing that that's not a thing was crazy to me. See,
Hey,
everybody's talking about him taking the knee and not getting a point or getting a point where the fact of the level of incompetence is what stood out to me. Because when he did it, I was like, this dude has no idea what he's doing. And then to go run to the corner and get this thing. Now, I did see a very slowed down video. His braid literally went in his eye. So a dude slowed it down, played it, zoomed. I mean, it was clearly went in. And then he was like, so it went in his eye. So it could have brazed and then whatever's in it. But that's neither here nor there. It wasn't a fan, man, coming out of the sky. But guess what? He got away with one. It was a judgment call for the ref. He was like, yo, he ran over to him like totally like Tank. So if I was the ref, I would have probably, I feel like I would have done the same thing because it's like you're going to give a guy 2 points because the guy just didn't know. Like if he knew he was taking a knee, like he knew that this is a point and he's just like, look, I got to take this. It would have been different. I would have been like, okay, you get it. But it was just it was almost like perfectly played by Tank. Think about it. He takes the knee, then runs to the corner. And guess what? What if he steps outside the ring and go ties his shoe? Like, how crazy. Think about what he did. The more incompetent he acted, the easier it was for him to wave off. You get what I'm saying? Think about it. He did.
Well, let me interject on a couple of chords because it's
go ahead. That's why we're doing this.
First of all,
chat. Let me know what y'all think too.
When you're in a world title fight, you and your opponent, you get to
hold up, hold that thought. You mean a sparring match?
Yeah, sparring match, whatever. but when you're in a world title fight, a sanctioning world title fight, you and your opponent get to vote on the refs and the judges, right? So obviously, with the information that you just gave me, with him being from the DMV and they both being from the DMV, they obviously have had this guy as referees coming up in the amateurs, all that. So they're like, oh yeah, he's cool, bam. But with that being said, when you also are a fighter and something happens like your hair or your wardrobe or whatever, you pick that. That's not part of the game. You made a conscious decision to have your hair braided. You know what I'm saying? You made a cut like football players that have ponytails. You put that ponytail. So if somebody grabs that ponytail while you're running the football or you catch a pass, that's on you. So that is not an excuse for a Tank. That's inexplicable. Like that's something that you got to deal with.
It was naive. It was ignorant. I mean, it was absolutely asinine.
You should also know that not to take a knee, but to literally run, use your legs, run away from the guy, or wait for a lull in action to get help from the referee or whatever. Now, with that being said, for the referee to be that biased and stop the count, because you got to understand how the count starts. If a referee starts counting, he's looking at the timekeeper and the other people in the commission, like, okay, and is this a knockdown? And they're looking at him like, yeah, 1, 2, telling him where he's at on the count, telling him if it's a knockdown, or whipping it off like, no, that's not a knockdown. So that's another thing, right? So I know those guys were probably like, what are you doing? Or unless they froze up or something, right? We need to get the video on that. And then after that, it was just an epic mess up. You know what I'm saying? Because that fight literally came down to 1 or 2 points, and that was not correct for Lamont Roach to come up on the short end of it. You know,
I get it.
You know,
I get you.
If you get a draw on somebody else's co-promotion, and they're the champion, what does that mean in boxing?
Yeah, we know.
That means that you won.
Yeah. So I don't think the guy cheated. I think anybody was in that situation. It's a lot of pressure. 2 points is a lot to say. If Tank, the whole entire legacy of Tank, what he's done for boxing already in this short span for people, the kind of people that's in that audience, he had a lot that this he had a lot. No one's thinking about his decision. It was left up to him, and the WBC, or it was the IBF or the WBA. They wrote a letter and they was like, "Oh yeah, he made the right decision. It was his call at that moment." So you think about it. You're gonna, if it was Floyd, it was Muhammad Ali, guys who built a brand, and you know who they are. You know their brand promise. They're going to fake some shit. I mean, they're just gonna like, I'm gonna take a point and not sure. So you think about his position, and I know he probably, that's why he started counting, because he said he took a knee. I know that's the rule, but
Once
then
you
he had a
start counting,
chance.
you gotta keep counting.
Think about how hard. Think about how hard the backlash was going to be in that moment when he did that. You know, that was playing through his mind. So bias or not, I don't think he would have done that, because his integrity, he has a reputation too. So with that being said, thanks for that feedback. Chad, what do you think? You know, everybody jump right to the gun. I'm the guy that sees deeper, because I understand people and I understand moments, because I've been on the receiving end, meaning the beneficiary of a decision by a referee and a judge. I've had it. We fought against Brian Minto and Freddie Roach. We won a fight, had it taken from us, took it back, and took it back. I've been on that. That's never happened in history. You know what I'm saying? Holmes versus Minto. They took the fight. We took it back. They took it back. So I understand there's always a deeper, there's all, so think about this guy who hadn't even really built the name brand, and he gets that call and the fight is lost. He loses a title because of something that was not boxing related. So he had to think about that, not what your opinion is or mine, but what he actually had to decide. He's like, I know this dude is box office. This guy is having a good night that could end at any time. I'm gonna make decision that I feel like I ain't gotta live with that for good. But the next question is, in chat, like I said, I want you to light it up. How good is Lamont Roach? How
Well,
good is this kid?
well, obviously he's very good because he was already at the
Oh,
championship
oh,
level.
oh, read it. How good is he? Good, very good, or a legend?
Oh, um, I wouldn't say that he's per se a legend yet, but I think that he's at the championship level. He's right there at the doorstep of being elite. It was definitely a legendary night, but he would have to have, you know, two more of those or three more of those before I can say that he's a legend. And but he's a, you know, he's still young. He's in the prime of his life. He's probably going to have some. There's a lot of good matchups in that weight class. Stevenson has already came out and said, "Hey, if Tank don't give you the rematch, fight me." So I mean, yeah, he's probably on his way to being a legend, definitely.
Okay, so like I said, in history, who does he remind you of? If you were to rank him somewhere, you know, I think of, when I think of, let me give you an idea. When I think of Keyshawn Davis, I think of Terry Norris. I think he's going to knock off somebody that nobody can see coming,
Mm-hmm.
because I think Keyshawn Davis is that dude. Okay, so how do you, who do you
Well,
think that Lamont Roach will end up leveling out as when you
um,
think about fighters in history?
well, I'm gonna give you something, and it's gonna be a lot of good analogies in it also in my description. Um, this whole thing reminds me of what happened with Antonio Tarver when everyone thought that he was a crybaby and everything because he had also fought Roy several times in the amateurs,
In
and
the
you know,
Sunshine State
yeah,
games
it was a
here in Florida.
yeah, it was a give and take type thing. And Roy, of course, was Roy Jones on top of the world, and everybody's like, "Oh man, who's this guy crying about this decision?" Blah blah blah. And then he went on. to be the legend killer. So, like I'm
Yeah.
saying, with all these matchups in this weight class, Roach could go on to be a legend killer. So I'm gonna say he reminds me of my boy Antonio Tarver. Shout
I
out
was
to
gonna say that. I was gonna say that. Let me see. We have Thurman fighting here next Wednesday against Aussie. Okay, and Aussie. Okay, did you know this? And do you think Keith one time Thurman is too old to get back in the ring? No, Keith one time Thurman's not too old. He's just not relevant, but he's here to gatekeep now. That's what happens. He's his you go from champion, could have been legendary, but he just made it a champion. And then
yeah,
he drops to contender, and then he drops down to just a tough gatekeeper.
yeah,
And that's where he at. It's positions in boxing. Like I said, you got journeyman, you got opponents, people who fill cards up, and then you got journeyman, and then you got people who are prospects. You know what I'm saying? But there's the gatekeeper. That gatekeeper is a tough guy. You got to pack a lunch. You know what I'm saying? You got to pack a lunch. You can't have been eating bonbons and drinking beer and thinking you're gonna get in there because that guy, he came to fight. And he's in shape. He knows the chance. He's a little long in the tooth. He's been in the game for a pretty long time. He's gonna give you a tough fight, but he's always gonna find a way to come up short and stuff. So, but when I think of Keith Thurman, he's a dangerous guy. He's a dangerous puncher. But I've never favored anyone who doesn't use punch cadence. A guy who loads up on a heavy bag. I watched him train. He fights the exact same way. You don't have enough tools in your belt. And this is boxing. You got to be able to adapt and adjust to every scenario, and you have to learn how to chop people down. One time is a hype thing. That one punch. There are people who start having concrete chins when you get to that level of boxing. And I want to explain to people about boxing levels. There's so many levels in boxing that Tank is already basically enshrined in the Hall of Fame, right? In everybody's mind. He's guaranteed to just do dynamic things in the sport of boxing, right? And he lost basically a moral victory. He lost because of the level. He couldn't adapt to the change, the style. And so that's how many levels it is when you as good as Tank, and Tank has a crazy fan base. They said going to a Tank fight is like nothing in sports right now. And he's not even a big personality. You
mm,
know what I'm saying? So that says a lot about his talent, but guess what? He just experienced another level, and he didn't win in that arena when the levels change, because I keep telling people you keep playing in this sport, but there are levels in this game, and 12 of them to be exact. And Tank and guys like Canelo, I said it in the video, and it's on our stream on the page on the YouTube channel, what level they both are. So if you want to know, it's 12 of the levels. I've written it all out. And if you don't identify with it, there's none of these guys that you're watching, they are nowhere near close to it. And so, because the highest level of boxing, y'all in the school, y'all know what it is. The highest level of boxing. I say it all the time, and I mean it, because it is. And until you got those things, you will never, ever, ever say you great. And so he learned this thing ain't about knocking cats out. It's a lot more to boxing than just getting in the ring and knocking guys out. And Keith Thurman just doesn't have cadence in his punches enough when he boxing. He's smart, but he depends on one punch. And guys are too good. The guys are too good. So what was missing from Tank? Think that was a good one. And people in the comment boxes, what do you guys think about Keith Thurman? You know, is he a world beater still? Is he going to upset the apple card? Is he just a dead man walking, getting a check? Drop it down in the comment boxes. But over here we got What was missing from Tank in rounds 6 through 12, Otis? What did you see that was missing from Tank? The next question is going to knock you off your socks. So y'all got to be here for the next question. So your audio going away. While your audio coming back, I'm going to play this. Tank's trainer working with him, doing weights. And I know that guy has never really trained a real fighter.
Yeah, I do be having them thoughts.
Because I'm looking at him put on weight, put these heavy weights on Tank doing, and I'm saying, look, bruh.
Tank, we're going to go 35, 12.
There was a point in time in my career where I didn't have enough experience.
What he's talking about is how to put weights into your program without making yourself slow or bulky.
Yeah, I do be having them thoughts.
Boom. That was great, Otis. That was a great take. Your audio is gone. Back out and come back in. Back out and come back in. So what I'm going to explain to you is what I meant by there's a way that you got to lift for your body. And I want you guys to remember, muscle does not give you fighting strength. Muscle is your bumpers. Pop, pop, pop. You feel strong when you're defending. Pop, pop, deflect. Okay? You're trying to enhance the strength and the density of your bone. The bone is what you're hitting them with. Boom. The muscle is just a protector over the bones. Okay? But the bone is what you're hitting them with. So you're trying to focus on increasing bone density. So if you're doing that workout and then you're doing an upper body workout, then you're doing a lower body workout, and then you keeping that going throughout the entire time, the only thing you're doing is building muscles up, right? The bone density is going to get to a point where it's going to stop. So all you're doing now is adding disadvantages. And that's why you see overly muscled people gassing out. They're never good for the second half of the fight. And so you got to be careful. There's science behind training the body. If you don't understand freeze PRN and learning the terms that you need to learn, activating muscle, understanding isometric training, TUT, time under tension, things that help you increase your blood oxygen levels and also the density of your body. If you don't understand these kind of things, you need to get the kind of trainer that understands these types of training systems, energy systems. When you're training with someone and they're giving you this weight training and all of these different types of lifts, what you're dealing with is a weightlifter. You're not dealing with someone who understands sports science. Okay, because going to NASM and getting a certification, or ACE, getting a certification does not make you someone who specializes in sports performance. That's a science. So thinking a barbell is going to give you what you actually need to fight at the highest level of boxing successfully, that's crazy. That's just like saying because I went to NASA and bought a very cool little spaceship for my son that I actually know how to fly a rocket into space. That's the difference. You're not an astrophysicist. So you got to understand there's a big difference between working with a trainer and working with an expert in sports performance, a person that draws blood and measures out your VO2 and all of these different tactics that we in the sports science field have to do. Does that make sense? So when I see a guy just throwing a bunch of different exercises on a guy, I already know he's just doing things that look cool for the camera. But training with a kettlebell hooked to your foot, doing pull-ups, dude, all you got to just do is more pull-ups. Like, it's just, like I said, I could get away with it because I understand the science. I'm not just giving them reps to say I'm doing reps. Otis was up here, and there's 0 people in the world that can talk this level of science to me. I don't care who you go get. Okay. I don't care. Like the Gary Breckers of the world, when it comes down to this part of the game, not even him. Okay. There are levels to this. All right. So it's just like everybody else has made it to the ninth grade. I've gotten a PhD, and then I've written a course for you to get your PhD too. Like it's just level. So just understand, learn more, keep learning, because when you're training with a person with for physical benefit or physical gains, there's the guy who could get you, help you lose 20 pounds and put on muscle and look cut, get rid of most of your gut. All right. There's that guy. And then there's a guy who can put you in an Iron Man and you not regurgitate your souls out of your throat from your shoes, because he understands the balance, the molecular structure of your body, the atoms, all the way down to the mitochondria. He's breaking your body down. All right. He understands the skeletal alignment. He understands the physiology in its entirety. That's sports science. Okay. So just make sure when you see these guys throwing chains around people and picking up barbell, just ask them. You know what I'm saying? Just ask them, what exactly are you doing? If his answer is too long, he don't know what he's talking about. You get it? But they all are trying. So there's that. But at the same time, it's smoke and mirrors. I'm going to tell you what I saw in Tank's body that no one else has said, that I knew if it was going to be the case, that it was going to be very tough. And I'm going to talk about it after I get you to answer the next question, which is what I said was going to be the one that trips you out. Does Tank miss Floyd in the corner of that ringside?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say yeah. I mean, it's invited. It's
Hold up, Otis. Augie. Ooh, Augie. You heard what Augie said? He said Lamont Roach gives me Shane Mosley vibes. That's good. I don't think he had that level. Did you know 38-0 with 35 knockouts, Shane Mosley? Different animal. Y'all saw the Shane Mosley versus, Floyd. Y'all seen that, even with Vargas, he blew him out of beautiful knockout. Even with Mayorga, beautiful knockout, but it still won't the same Shane that fought when he was fighting and he said lightweight, and he was like the one that fought De La Hoya the first, like that dude was an entirely different animal. Lamont Roach has no chance with that guy. You know what I'm saying? The speed, the power, the venom, the chin, the throwback mentality. And I give Roach Jermaine Taylor level, a shade up under Winky Wright, because Winky had mastered his science. This was a style situation for Tank. Yeah. But does he miss Floyd in that corner?
As a fighter, you're always gonna miss a veteran. Like for instance, I'm getting ready to be in Harold McQueen's corner here this Saturday. The things that I bring to the corner is not only just giving him the comfort level and everything, but on the fly, when something happens, I've already been through this stuff countless amounts of times, so I know what he's thinking. I know what he's feeling. I can say, hey, do this, or hit the person underneath the arm. This is a good time to go to the body. You need to increase your stats by adding 40 jabs in the round to increase your work rate. And instead of, because how many times has a guy went to the corner and the trainer says something, but he doesn't tell them how to do it. Hey, you got to throw more punches. Okay, how do I throw more punches? It'd be great if the trainer knew, that if you increase the jab rate, that's going to increase the punches. You know, so
You can,
of course,
they can tell you what to do. They just can't tell you how to do it.
yeah.
They know the what, but not the how. So that's the issue. And you know, I don't pick at people. Like if you're a trainer out here and you feel offended, um, I'm always here to help. That's why I give you so much knowledge. I try to explain. And just like with a coach, you know, I love Barry Hunter. My coach is gonna kill me for saying what I'm about to say. But just know that I mean it with all due respect for the greatest professor over that DC market that there has ever been in Barry Hunter.
Mm.
And here's what I'm going to say. And this is not disrespect. This is actually a crown. When I see Barry Hunter, and I know how his relationship is with my coach, like, you know, like it's all the way 100. They both in the books in the Hall of Fame. Barry Hunter is a professor of boxing. He's not a cornerman. Donald Trump owned real estate up and down the East Coast where he's done, but now he's the president. You can't go around doing real estate deals, right? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's a president, but he's still doing real estate deals. I'm talking to, and when I think about Barry Hunter to me is the epitome of taking an entire region and turning it into something where it was a whole lot of lost causes. And so when I see him in the corner, I know what his gift is. He can breathe into the fighter what they might be missing internally. But Tank ain't missing anything internally. He was missing something externally, strategy. So therefore, when I see that the role he played wasn't the role that was needed, and I know he's strategic. I don't get it twisted. Barry Hunter is the bar, but his title has changed and he's still wearing that hat. So it's not the same. Like if I were to go work a corner now, the game is like this. And as much as I know, I got to say, whoo, I need to go hit a couple of amateur bouts before I go to the pros and do it. You can go, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to get the algorithm back because I bring a lot of game to my corner work. I got a lot of game, right? A lot. And I got to get it worked up again. And then I'm like, okay, just like great comedians, before they do a biggie, they do a tour. Seinfeld, Chris Tucker, Chris Rock, they do the circuit, the Chitlin circuit, as they call it. They go to all the little hole in the walls again to get the game back going, to get the flow. You got to. And then when you show up for real, it's real. They record it. Every comedian that will ever do it and has done it had to do that because you don't have your joke game right. And when you're in that corner, you got to have your corner game tight. Like, and if you're a strategic person, and the difference between the people that go to the fight and they have the strategy, they understand how to get in here, they know how to get in here, and they know how to help you do this, adapt. That is your chief second. All right. These other guys, they play a role. So what I saw is that he missed Floyd immensely. He missed him immensely because Floyd would have said, do what you already needed to do 3 times and then slide. Like he would have remembered, I haven't been boxing the whole second half of the fight. I've been standing toe to toe with this dude who's now bigger than me.
Yeah. In and out the front door. I get frustrated with fights that go in and out the front door.
Yeah. Who has a good chin? The guy tucked like this or the guy like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Guy like this, his chin can't be so good. This guy, you ain't knocking him out. And so that was the posture that Lamont was able to keep all night. He was tucked. Good. But that's you got to open him up. And the way to open him up is at range, jabs to the body, not mid-range inside, because that's DC. I don't care where you come from. You go over there with thinking you got an inside game. Cause I done seen dudes. I done seen guys go into that gym and man with titles that had titles, which that don't mean nothing in the gym. Everybody know you just got the opportunity, but the best guy is over there drinking a beer in the corner. James Lights Out Tony, the guy who ain't never ran. That's the best guy in the gym. When you have these guys who have these talents, man, you know, the talent speaks volumes. It's do you have the discipline to apply with it? So when we look at what these guys both bring into that ring and how great of they put on a show the second half of that fight. Even the first 3 rounds, everybody was like, did anybody have nails left? Because it was like, yo, what's really gonna happen? But you did know that I don't believe this dude going nowhere. How quick did you know that kid wasn't going anywhere? When did you realize, Otis and chat, when did y'all realize that Lamont Roach won't going nowhere that night?
By the 3rd round, because one of the things that I watch in the fight that a lot of people don't do is I watch the fight from the floor up. So when I start off, I'm looking at your feet, and if your feet aren't happy and undecisive, then I'm like, okay, he's still getting settled or still very tactical right now. But this guy's feet by the 3rd round, he was right there, right there, boom, settled steps. Coming forward, grabbing the ground by dipping his weight down. And I'm like, hey, he ain't going nowhere, man. He knows something that other people don't know. He know how to, he's not afraid of this power. He's not afraid to be in the kitchen and everything. And then I start thinking back to, what we were talking about days before. And I'm like, they did fight a lot of times in the amateurs. And I'm like,
he knew him.
This might have one of those legendary nights effects, So by the 3rd round.
And I'm on my man Augie said second round. I kind of knew it at the beginning. When I saw the size, I said, oh, and I already knew he was gonna fight defensively. He said it in so many ways. My defense is it, and so you can fight to survive. So I said, oh, he ain't gonna knock him out. Like he already had in his mind that I'm not going to surrender a knockout. And so that's just like, I'm coming to survive. That's why he didn't do enough to say, oh, yeah, he got to be the champ. Because ain't nobody like, yeah, he got to be the champ. He still didn't look like the champ. There were things that you saw that he could have done. He didn't take the chances, and he'll do the same thing again. Tank has options, and he can totally make an adjustment by moving and using fighting off of his back foot, jabbing to the body, sliding out, and making that boy eventually start dropping his hands to open up that chin and check it. But so here's what I was going to talk about with the weights. See, Otis knows this too. See, you can lift enough weights and cutting your body fat and weight down that when the weight come back, I know this because I'm a natural skinny dude. I can lift to get super big. Like I can start lifting beside you and and no one will know how much weight. No one will know that you're heavier than me by the end of the workout. That's what my body does. Like it just grows, right? I'm freakish, it's weird, it's crazy. At 55, I can deal. If I touch a barbell, I'll be sore for 3 weeks. Like out, my body transforms like an incredible Hulk. Crazy. That's how what I go through, right? And but guess what happens? All of it goes away. I'm just super lean, like cutting just all of that, right? Super tight, nothing fits. That many inches transpire. I can go from not being able to put a shirt on to having to go shop for a smaller. So I don't know what that is because nobody else in my family experiences this. It's weird. And when I saw Tank in that ring, that's what happened to him. He lost all of the mass. I mean, he powerful, strong as an ox, but size, when you standing there toe to toe with a dude, the weight that he's carrying is going to be different. A good big man will be the good little man. Tank was the little man that night. And it was apparent very early in that fight that this is going to be a tougher night because the guy came in defensively responsible, not delusional. Like all these other guys, like Ryan, think you're going to go in there and hit Tank and hurt Tank. Where Tank is where the real dog pound started. That's where he really fight. Get it? Like the Pernell Whitakers and all of these killers, man. Like when you got that kind of pedigree, it's just like you're going to be way better than people think when they get in there. And that dude wasn't. He won't delusional. He was not playing games. So with that being said, I said, the dude comes from a place that they have basically a school on inside fighting and what it takes. Your courage. It's like if you go to prison, you're going to put on a different face. That's the face you got to put on when you go over there in the dog pound. That's the face you got to put on over there. Like you will be eaten alive. You go to Philly with Joe Frazier, like Joe Frazier and them, Jim, like you, dude, it's like even Joe Frazier was like when he fought Jimmy Ellis, he said these dudes was beating me up so bad. I was like, how am I gonna win this fight? Joe Frazier said it. These dudes are kicking my ass in there. He's like, these boys coming in there, like they just come in there with a different mentality and the skill set to back it. And that's what you're dealing with when you're going into DC. Because if you're in DC and you shoot up to Philly, it's gonna be problems because you're from DC. You in DC, you come from Baltimore. That's why he said it's the battle of the highway. We 20 plus miles away. When we bump, it's something. It means something. It ain't Duke, Carolina, but it's very close. You know what I'm saying? Pittsburgh, the Ravens, it's something like that. And so I just knew that I seen that size differential. I was like, yo, he's big. I said, Tank gonna be super fast. Now, today, Tank probably swollen. He probably swollen, like his muscles and stuff. That's what I mean about science. You got to understand how to predict your size and your strength. And he didn't because he came in, he was small. Go look at the fight. He looked good. He's small and trying to fight a big man fight. That makes sense.
Yeah, one thing that immediately comes to mind is this also when you put all that muscle on, you need a lot of oxygen, you need a lot of hydration, right? And then
hold on, Otis. Hold that thought. I'm just trying to read. I don't want this to be on your face when I'm reading it. Garcia versus Romero. Oh, and Tio versus Roland. Go ahead.
Oh, what I'm saying is, when you put on the kind of muscle that he put on and do the kind of explosion work that he did, we talked about several times. It takes a lot of oxygen and it takes a lot of hydration to maintain those muscles because muscle is 87% water, right? So now you're not a heavyweight, you're at a lighter weight where you got to lose weight to get on that scale. So now you got to deplete all the water out
Yeah.
of your body to make the weight because muscle
Yeah.
weighs more than fat, right?
Yeah.
So now the muscle is depleted and it's going to be slow to respond, like it's going to be lethargic. So now he goes and he rehydrates and everything, and he feels heavy and slow. So he did himself a disservice, and he doesn't know what he's doing, nor did his team know what they were doing. So he did not look hair trigger fast that night. He did not look explosive on his counters as like Tank lives off of counters. That's what he does. He processes you. He lines up everything that you're doing, and then right when you think you got him, he splits your shot with a counter that you don't see, probably a lead uppercut, backside uppercut, or a hook, and once he catches you, he has that one punch power that you don't survive from. He never did that night in the fight because he was lethargic and slow. And you could tell by his eyes and the demeanor in his face that he didn't understand what was going on with his body. So that causes panic. And then that caused him to do something like, oh, I got hit in the eye.
Oh, he was totally. Oh, that was
time out. Like, yeah.
That was basically, we can all say it because we professionals. We both been in this game for a long time. He choked. He totally cramped. He emotionally, he had a meltdown.
He did what we call in NorCal, he shit the sheets.
Yeah. That was it. Like, that's what happened. It was, I saw it in his eyes. I'm looking at him. I know what it is. That's my job, to understand the internal mindset of a fighter. That's why my coach put me in charge in talking to the fighters, because I understand human behavior. That's my gift. Like, I understand, like, you ain't got to tell me. I can read you. I can read your eyes. I can read your body language. I can tell the way you're breathing. It's all the signs. I just have a different vision. Like, I see different, I hear different, and I talk different. I know how I got to say it. I know how to tell you to do it, not just what to do, but how to do it. You understand? So when I saw it was a meltdown and it was borderline gonna keep happening, if he was fighting Winky Wright, someone with a jab, pop, pop, it would have melted down the rest of the way. That's the thing. People don't understand what that was actually happening. I do. And I won't even get into it because I got probably to do 50 more posts about this fight because it was so many different conversations. But that last part was the last part of this section. Besides, who will be favored in the rematch?
Well, it all depends on one thing. Is he really going to be an Antonio Tarver? Does he really have Tank's number? Is he really on Tank's clock? I think so. I think that he is, because I don't think Tank has the knowledge that we're talking about to change up everything that he does. Now, a fighter of his caliber that normally would be like, man, I just started doing this weight stuff. I need to get rid of this weight stuff. But in his response of how he was acting at the end of the fight, with how he walked past my boy Calvin Ford and then listened to him and bumped him out of the way and was acting like a little spoiled brat, I would say that he blames his corner for it instead of himself. And it always starts with the finger point. Always starts with yourself. In all the fights I've lost, I never blame nobody else but myself, because I'm the signed that piece of paper, and I'm the one whose career is on the line. So you can be gamed up, talked up, people put a battery in your back, and the moment you hear that ding, it's just you and that other man across from you.
Well, you're a different breed. The levels above the shoulders. You were in a real profession in football. You did your level of responsibility is just light years above anybody that's coming into the game because they're coming from amateur boxing and then they become a pro. They are not taught how to be a pro. You knew how to be a pro. Your character and all of those things you had that when you came in and you're appreciative. But I'm gonna answer this question with that Paul had. I'll get one of them, P, and then I'll answer them in the comments. He wants to know uh, Garcia versus Romero. Yeah, Garcia knocks him out, and it's going to be hard. Garcia is violent, and it's real. He's not playing with these boys who are not at the elitist level. He's not going to like beat the A level fighter because he doesn't live like a fighter. And I love him for the game, but he is a more of an influence in boxing than a guy who lives a lifestyle like the greatest fighters did. You know, the people like the Joe Frazier's, the Ali's. I know what Ali did. You know, I know what he did. I got to hear it from the horse's mouth when he wasn't when they had took his license. And Isaiah Thomas is a friend of ours whose dad was best friends with Ali. Ali lived with them and I know his routine. I know what he did. He was a different animal. The kind of stuff he was talking about, mano y mano, face to face with me, was crazy. Like running 10 miles like daily. Like that's what he did. He had to. And I know people that are like that. Bernard Hopkins was like that. Bernard used to do 12s. Like it's
Yeah.
some people that just have to do that or they will go insane. And he channeled that energy. He would do it like, and he wasn't even boxing. That's not Ryan Garcia. So therefore, he'll run into hurdles. So, and that's why he couldn't handle the being in too much shape when he fought Tank. He was in the best shape of his life. He'll probably never be in that great a shape again because he worked to get down to that weight, and he just didn't know how. He didn't know how to manage it. He didn't know how to manage being in total shape because he's a loose cannon. So you have to have that other stuff. You got to have the ability to live a professional life. Hagler, guys who Floyd, people who did it like at the highest level and lived that life too. You know, Pacquiao, he partied. Like Pacquiao was doing other stuff. So I can't say Pac, but Pac is a freak of nature. If you got that much like Pac did, I know because Rashad was in camp with him. So I knew every move he was doing consistently. And he's an animal. But so you would favor Roach in a rematch. That's that's cool. I think Tank has the ability to make adjustment, but I do see the Roy Jones Tarver thing. That's exactly what I thought. Sometimes that guy was born. You know, sometimes that guy was born to disrupt your stuff. Ken Norton, Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
Sometimes that guy was born and he just throws off your Lynn Bias, Michael Jordan, 1987. I mean, 1985. Look, sometimes that guy was born. And boy, if Lynn Bias wouldn't have lost his life, what Jordan NBA career would have been like
Yeah.
a lot different. A
Yeah.
lot different because Lynn Bias was him.
Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, anybody who don't know, go pull up Carolina versus Maryland
Yeah.
championship game, Michael Jordan versus Lynn Bias. Then find the documentary. And then I don't have to say anything else. Michael Jordan know, everybody in the world of sports know, and I'm number one Michael Jordan fan. And I know when my skin crawl, that's your kryptonite. Lynn Bias was him. And that's why nobody else could do it. Because the guy who could, God had different plans.
Can I say one thing about the Rolly Romero fight?
Yeah.
Um, so on the surface, we know that Ryan has better talent. He has better length, better speed, all of the assets that are required to beat Rolly, and he does have that power, like you're saying, to beat Rolly. But one thing I don't think that you factor in that I'm going to factor in, because this is a very big problem with Ryan, is a mighty fall, comes because of arrogance, and I believe that Rolly is and I don't want to put anybody out there, but he's retard strong, and I can just see Ryan talking all this mess and being around this big atmosphere, with the Sheik and all these guys and everyone else that's there with Telefimo, and he's worried about the next fight and looking over here, and Rolly catches him with one of those hard shots, and it's over.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You're talking about the intangibles. You're talking about the things. Yeah, I'm just saying, as a fighter, when they go in there and fight, who will win is the guy who's supposed to win. But what can happen is a whole lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
I thought of that, but I won't gonna put that kind of energy into it, because we have to get to this Dana White takeover. And as I say that, I have to segue for 1 second. We have to play a word from our sponsor for all of you trainers out there, and you guys who are fighting. Give us 30 seconds. Tanks trainer. Hold on.
Great as a trainer, and know that you be inspired by being in a circle of like-minded trainers who are accomplished. Then note that there are 5 available spaces going into this next quarter to enroll. And to start now, be sure to go to the link below, and I'll see you in the winner circle of inspired trainers who not only just want to train with athletes, but they want to build a monumental personal brand today. Enroll now. Peace.
That's Top Trainer. So if you guys are out there doing your game and you're focusing on trying to take part in this big monumental sport and learn and understand how to grow and build and just be relevant in this game, but understand the world is your oyster and you about that life, then that's the place for you. Make sure you continue to follow for more, and we dive directly into this next segment that breaks down Dana White taking over. So I want to play this little clip. This is a clip from the show Ariel.
Why?
Okay.
When you heard about this, did you feel the same way? What was your reaction?
It wasn't that initially. It grew to become that. As sort of the next sort of 10 minutes, and then the minutes passed, and the minutes passed, I was like, okay, wait, what does this mean? And then I started to kind of listen to the language used, especially by Turkey, when he said crush, we're going to crush all the other promotions. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But what, 1 second, the promotions you've been working with, as in Queensbury and Matchroom and Golden Boy and Top Rank, like, what does that mean? I find it interesting. I find it
people didn't see that coming. Turkey, and I'm going to let you weigh in. I'm going to crush those other promotions. He said that. And he's like, hold up. You see how they respond over in the UK. Thought it was going to be good. And then they said, hold up. That whole show is really good. Because him and Ariel were going, he was like, hold it. Turkey didn't save boxing. Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren were filling up stadiums. Like he said, did it help some things? Take some pressure off? That's any job. And he just wants to make them understand British boxing isn't as raggedy as American boxing. American boxing is more lucrative, but in Britain, British boxing, man, it's like number one still. Like wherever you go, they know the fighters. Bruh. So he was like, hold up. You measure in America. Now in America, we arrogant. It's all these other sports that they put above it. NFL, NBA. Now soccer's just kind of like gotten super big over here in the past 15 years, 20 years. Really big. But they wanted to kind of stuff boxing down, because if you ain't benefiting from it, like once Trump left boxing, like kind of slid out, a lot of the major things start leaving out. The Tyson did. That's where it all, everybody got on board for the launch of Apple, which is Mike Tyson in boxing. But when Jordan retired, 50% of the viewership left, and LeBron ain't even brought that back. Jordan the GOAT. So 50% of viewership gone, ain't came back, period. You can do the data. So that's exactly what happened to boxing. Premium television, it was at its height when Tyson was there, Sugar Ray Leonard, all these guys. Then premium television came in and said, hey, we can do one better. And that was a short-term thing. They could only do one better for a little while. They weren't going to take what really comes with boxing and sacrifice their brand, like HBO show who they really were. Showtime eventually bowed out as well, because what's tied to you is also going to be tied to your brand. And so they showed who they really were. And that's what they weren't signing. They were signing up for that ride that Mike Tyson was taking them on. Sugar Ray Leonard. They was signing up for that, right? This is why I try to explain to you fighters, you got to learn how to build your brand. You're in control. Okay? You're in control. Jake has left you sprinkles of the blueprint. We actually teach you what you need to do right here on this show and in the school, because you're going to need to, because when these guys are taking over, what you're not worth, you're not getting. Okay? So you need to be worth, you need to understand charitable interactions, public relations, being publicized and being vocal and having people know you, and being able to sell tickets and being able to influence people, and all of those things come with it. Ask Crawford. He's not right next to Your Excellency for no reason. That's his, what we call public relations. Getting close to the people that's necessary, who cut the checks, because as a person, you're not really a big brand, right? That's important. So that's this era. That's why you have influencers like Kai showing up on network television, big shows like ESPN, getting big commercials with, State Farm, because people who have influence, this is their generation right now. This is the age we're in. So I encourage you guys to take it serious, because it's so many people will be successful on a level that they would have never thought of, that the wealth and the success, but you got to help people and you got to love people back. That's a part of this. Before, the networks would tell you to do it. Now you don't have anyone saying you need to do it, because we don't need you. We want that dude that got 1.5 million followers, or a guy who's climbing the game. People love him. So you got to find who you are, talk to your tribe, and love that you've been chosen for that opportunity, and don't see it as work. See it as an opportunity and see it as a blessing. So with that being said, those guys over at Matchroom, and those guys, Frank Warren and these guys, individuals, when I know they heard that guy say, we're going to crush them, that they take that personal. I'm sorry I went on that tangent, but I had to give people kind of like a roundabout understanding of the United States. And when it comes down to the UK, there's nothing that warrants us matched against the UK. The UK fan base, boxing over here, you can't even compare. And I'm going to suggest anybody who has Hulu to watch 1,000 Blows.
I love
it's
that
where
show.
Boxing started. If you haven't watched it, if you watched that, I'm not getting paid. This ain't a sponsored ad.
I love that show.
That show is boxing, and we can't compete with that now. but we are getting the opportunity thanks to guys like Dana White. That's what I do see. So Dana White understands brand. Now, building your own name is good. So build your name because your mama be proud. Build your name because your daddy be proud. Build your name because your family members and your people who you grew up with in school, they'll be proud. Don't see it as work. See it as an opportunity to help feed into what you've done here. Make people proud, including yourself first. That's all this is. So is this a takeover, Otis?
I would say, yeah, it is a takeover. They have unlimited amounts of money. They have unlimited amounts of influence, and now he has a captain at the helm that is going to show him how to, make it one band, one sound. And to be honest with you, that should be what everybody's working towards. I'm sad that they all can't work together to get it done. I don't see why it would have to be anybody out of it, but I do understand when people are greedy and they want to have different sanctioning bodies and they want to have different promotions, because then that means that they can have a champion over here that don't have to fight the champion over there. Then yeah, they can hold on to stuff, or they can have in-house titles and everything. The Don King recipe. I didn't come with the champion, but I always leave with the champion. Yeah, that's great because promoters, when you enter what the Sheik is doing, your fighter might go all the way up the ranks. Your fighter may have the title, but that don't mean that you don't keep that title. And once that title is gone, then your money is gone, and you got to build another champion up from ground. So people don't want to go through that. They want to hold on to the belts and hold those belts hostage for a long period of time, which pipelines the money to them for a long period of time, and those days are going to be over with.
Yeah, I love that. I hope you guys was able to receive that. Thanks for that feedback, Otis, because I'm gonna give you a throw something at you. Augie, I missed this one that you said. He said you could tell that excuse me, you could tell that there was panic mode, especially when in the corner they were arguing with Coach Calvin and others. Yeah, it was panic. It was all of that. Even Coach Hunter laughed at Tank. He was like, "Man, I'm trying to help you out." Tank arguing, he just laughed, and then Tank laughed. I'm like, "Yeah, y'all." It was sparring. For those of you who don't know what that fight was, that was sparring. That's what it was. It was no strategy after the 6th round. It was just sparring. So
did you see how many times Tank tried to dap up Roach?
Yeah,
I thought
that was. I told you, it was a meltdown.
Yeah,
it was a meltdown. He broke him down internally, and he can't fight that kind of fight. The fear was there, and that's not that wasn't respect. That's an agreement, and the agreement is, hey, let's not go. Because I'm feeling them shots. Like I don't want to lose my whole brand because you came and had a good night. Yeah, that was that. So strategy was the difference in that fight. Lack thereof. So with that being said, what is Matchroom thinking right now? And Frank Warren, Golden Boy, what are they thinking right now? What is in chat? I want to know what you guys are thinking too, and I'll get to the questions. But what are you thinking? These guys are like, what do you think they are actually sitting around doing right now and thinking?
They got to strategize, straight up. They probably are thinking that they really got stabbed in the back because they all thought that they were, putting all their hats in the ring to be a part of something bigger, which is a shame because that's how it should have been. But then for someone to be direct, and we know that the Sheik can be very direct from the broadcast, like we laughed about all the stuff that he was doing. But Matchroom is probably thinking that they're going to have to go, which they're going to win at this point. With what if they do this? I don't know if they are doing this, but if they're not, they need to come holler at me because they need to go domestically. There was, like you just said, there was nothing domestically like boxing in Great Britain. Like they can really run their own boxing without the rest of the world, just in Great Britain, from the ABAs to all the way to the BBC network in boxing, and they can run their own deal. Golden Boy.
But the only
is
thing
tapped
is,
in
but the
to
only
over-
thing is with that is you're not big until you're big over here.
Well, yeah, that might be.
But that's the only thing. It's cachet.
Yeah,
It's cachet. If you're not known over here and you fight,
I'm talking about
this is how they feel. They're like, man, come on. Just like all those UFC fighters want to get a boxing match.
Oh, yeah.
Like now they'll be able to because Dana White's creating a league.
Well, realize what I'm saying is this though. I'm not talking about Great Britain tapping into their domestic self to take over the world. I'm talking about once the Sheik tries to take over the whole world, then they're going to need to tap into their domestic for survival by themselves. Like just in order to feed themselves, they're going to have to tap in domestically, and they can do that. The only other promoter that can also do that is Golden Boy, because Golden Boy is tapped into 16 Hispanic or more Latino countries, which Latins are very loyal to their self. So once Golden Boy puts out the word like, hey, we control 60% of boxing just by the Latino base. Once you guys spend your money with me, why are you gonna go over here to this Sheik and all this stuff? Then they're gonna be like, all right, whatever. But the Sheik is gonna have the lion's share of whatever, and I think those two companies can survive. Eddie Hearns has been hemorrhaging, and Matchroom has been hemorrhaging money for the last 2 or 3 years anyway. They did a
audit
balloon payment type deal, and now they're having to pay that money back that they were given in the beginning to start that company and that app.
That billion dollars.
They could fold.
Yeah, I mean that's what this is why boxing is like this, because they realize. And I remember, was it Jay-Z or what rapper was it that 50 Cent? He thought I could come in boxing. Like, bruh, you're never going to win the battle with a guy sacrificing his life for a check and think you're going to pay him less. There's no sport like boxing. And for UFC, there's nobody dying in the UFC. People die in boxing all the time. So there's that. Absolutely no data. Like, it's just super tough to do what it is. So you do over there. Absolutely nothing tougher. But people die in boxing. You don't play boxing. Okay. You get over pain. You can get over broke legs. You can't get over death. That's what happens in boxing. So you can't negotiate that. So when people come into boxing, you gotta bleed money. And that's what they are thinking about. Turkey, he's thinking, we bleeding money. We're not just losing money. Like, it's like no bottom in this thing. It's just pouring out. I need to get the guy who knows how to do this thing structurally and economically. That's why that deal was able to happen. I do deals. I know how to do deals. I know what deals look like. And I know I understand the process of it, and what, like, sometimes they've forgotten why they got in bed together, but that's still the most visible thing to me. And it's because Dana White's people know how to manage fighters. See, fighters ain't oil. You know what I'm saying? Those guys know how to deal in stuff like that in the markets. But when you talk about fighters, people, you was 2-time world champion. That's totally different. And they hold the cards because they can just not fight. You got to find somebody else. And boy, you don't want that smoke. You'll be like Shakur Stevens fight the other week. Boy, they had to get a 48-hour notice to, like, that. You don't want that happening all the time, especially when you got marquee names on the card. So there's that. But the key, I think, is they are probably really, really worried, and they will have to pull together and create a dichotomy. And it's going to be some heads that bump. They're going to try to probably make it work, but eventually you have to pull out a sword. Everybody's got to pull out a sword and say who you really with. Who you really with. That's what's going to happen. And just like before, boxing was severed through promotions. Now that they all come back together, this big giant golden egg comes with Turkey out of Saudi, and now he brings in something that's going to create chaos. And so that leads me to my last question. How important are the belts now?
The belts aren't very important now, especially when you look into like a sanctioned body like the WBA that has, they have the red title, the gold title, the generational champion title, and then they have the regular champion, the champion in recess, and then the WBC has the silver belt, the regular champion, the interim champion. It's like, and then you got the regional champions, the continental champions. They need to clean it up. But
it's about to get cleaned up.
These sanctioning bodies, they get paid
30,
like 5% of the purse. For all of these belts. So yeah, you want to make a belt, because in order to make an important fight, you need a belt. So they're just creating belts out of the air. And I'm with the Turk on that. Like, man, let's get rid of some of these belts and at least like get it down to the big four. Let's get it down to the IBF, the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO, and everything else doesn't matter. And then let's have one belt or at least two belts in each sanctioning body in every weight class. And those belts are the world title. And then if the champion is hurt or something at that particular time and can't fight, then yeah, you can have an interim champion there. That's always been feasible. But all this other stuff, it needs to go.
It's gonna be interesting. So we get the opportunity, and like I said, my encouragement is to the fighters is, as I heard through the grapevine, I didn't see it myself, but I got it from a reliable source that when they spoke about this on X, that all these fighters were like, yeah, choose me. All these guys who pro fighters, and you go look at their profiles, and nobody has a real profile. Nobody has the kind of, because your profile is your resume. I get hired anywhere I go and do a deal. They're going to hire me because my profile, you look, not only am I in the game, I'm crushing the game. I'm a top 1%er in this thing, right? Because you see me, you can know me by the time you get to the second row of my feeds. You're like, yo, I know this dude. This dude is about his shit, like for real. And so out of all of those people, there was one person that had a credible profile. None of you guys are going to get a chance. The only thing you're going to get a chance to be is an opponent. So just work on your profiles. That's why I played this. If you need help to do that, get in our circle.
If you know you're great as a trainer and know that you be inspired by being in a circle of like-minded trainers who are accomplished, then note that there are 5 available spaces going into this next quarter to enroll and to start now.
I'm just saying, we made it so that there's a place. Now, we only have 5 rows. It might even be down now because we have to interview. We have to sit on. I've give release papers to 78 people. We don't play. If you're not serious about the sport, we just kind of say you can have, some training programs and all of that. Go figure it out yourself. Because see, in this circle, you see we got a multitude of world champions in both industries. UFC, that was Zhang Wei Li. I mean, we got real freaking people, like the best of the best. And to be in a circle where everybody's going to bring, my guy worked with David Benavidez, one of our top coaches in there, right down here in Miami. Like, in order to get to this level of boxing and understand it, where you're hearing people talk the right kind of language every day, you have to get into that circle. So that's why we have it's a fraternity. You're not just, your money ain't good with me until you sit down in front of me. Like, you can go register at our school, but when I get to meet you, I decide if you're going to be in this thing, or you are not, you're too far from understanding it. So this is why we do shows. This is why we educate, because you got to understand boxing ain't about just skills. That's just a tool that you're bringing. But what else do you bring to the game? What will be your impact when you leave? I don't care if you got 97 knockouts. What will be your impact? Or everybody just talk about knockouts, or did you do something like Muhammad Ali? Did you do something like the great people who walked the earth to help out organizations, bring awareness to youth with things like we decided that was important, was teaching people how to communicate. See, I help people communicate with other people, and that helps you kind of separate from the rest. And I say, always give it back, pay it forward. I don't give away knowledge for you not to pay it forward. So understand that boxing needs more than knockouts. Boxing needs personalities that are contributing to the earth, because we're all growing together. What would they say about this generation? I'm talking about everybody that's on earth, not particular if you were born in 1980. I mean, this era on earth, the 100-year era of people being born and living in this time. What will they say? So I say, challenges have to be a part of that conversation, what you left behind. I know I'm good. Are you good with what you left behind? Because if all you're doing is throwing punches, then that's not the only place you're going to be remembered is in the sport. We're talking about on earth. So think about that, and then channel that, and then decide, I'm gonna show up because I think I need to help change things, because you really can if you put your mind to it and just start connecting. So there's that. All of you guys, thanks for taking the time to interact with us over here, because we're doing not, there are channels who they have fun and they do this blah blah blah, but we do this with purpose behind it. We want to move the needle for boxing, the sport of boxing, be respected. We want it to be seen like they look at the medical field when they're looking at doctors who are saving their parents' lives, looking at these individuals who are in these big political roles, who are changing the complexity of your state. You want to be respected and honored like these people who protect us, these people who defend us in the U.S. Army or whatever army you got. You want to remember that you're here for more. So with that being said, always remember that you are here for more, and you made it this far. You didn't just come this far to be this far. So show your mettle. That's all we got. Coach Bradley signing out. Otis, you got any closing words, brother?
Dream it, visualize it, touch it, achieve it.
There you go. My man, you guys be blessed at Godspeed. Make sure you share this post to your timeline as a reminder, because all of the things that we talked about, most of the time they come to fruition very soon afterwards. So continue to follow for more, and always remember, if you're in the fight world and you got to connect, and you really know you bring pedigree to the game, not just in the ring, but outside the ring, then inquire about our fraternity, the School of Boxing, top trainer program. Be blessed at Godspeed, guys. Peace.